Well, hello everybody. Um, it is Wednesday, October the 25th at 7:30, y'all, and we are going to get started in just a moment. I wanted to give some more people some time to pop on and join me this evening. Um, where we're going to be talking about something that is really near and dear to my heart and definitely near and dear to my walk um, with the Lord because if anybody knows me, they know I have a hard time getting somewhere and sitting down, um, resting and different things like that. So I am just going to hang out for just a moment um, before we get ready to get started. Thank you guys that are joining me from Clubhouse and also those of you that are coming on via Facebook Live. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out to join me. While I wait for a few people to pop in, I am going to just share with you guys a little bit about who I am and what I do. For those of you that know me or don't know me, I am Frances McMiller. I am um, a licensed mental health therapist, and I'm also a mental wellness coach, life coach. So I target myself right now on assisting people um, with just getting to becoming the best versions of themselves, however that may look for that person, whether that's with healing, whether that's with working through some stuff, cheering them on. It doesn't matter. That's what I am there for. So I want to welcome you guys to the mental wellness sanctuary. And I'm going to get started in about another 2 or 3 minutes. I don't want to hold you guys for too long. Oh, hello. Thank you for joining me on Clubhouse. Of course, I'm going to invite you up to speak if you can. Join me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. I will. And you know what else I'm thinking about while I'm sitting here? I got to figure out how to do it. Maybe I will. I'll figure it out shortly. Maybe by the next session to where I am able to filter it from this business page, but also my personal page as well. So that way people might be able to find me a little bit better. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the Mental Wellness Sanctuary. Again, for those of you that are joining me, I am Frances McMiller. I am a licensed mental health therapist as well as a mental wellness coach. I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about Mental Wellness Sanctuary and kind of like its purpose because it was something that I was kind of kicking and screaming about doing, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, because me and lives is just not my thing. However, I wanted to be obedient to the Spirit of God and to pop on. And He gave me this idea of the Mental Wellness Sanctuary. And so the purpose of it is basically to create this open dialogue space that is safe, of course, for those to just share some of the things that you might be struggling with, whether that be mental health, whether that be life, whether that be parenting, whether it just be things within yourself. This is a safe space that I wanted to create for everybody to just be able to find balance, maybe to get some tips on how to do things better, different things like that. So that's the basic premises behind the mental wellness sanctuary. And of course, just for um, purposes, this is definitely just intended for educational purposes. It's not going to establish any kind of therapy or coaching relationship with anybody. So I did want to make sure that I did make mention of that as well. So thank you guys again for joining me. Now, tonight's topic, guys, we are talking about busy being busy. That for those of you that are listening on Clubhouse or for those of you that are on Facebook, if you don't mind, just sharing with me your initial thoughts about busy being busy. What do you think that might mean? I'll give you guys a chance to say something before I start chiming in on my take of being busy and what that kind of sort of looked like for me because even though I am on this side of the computer, it does not mean that I have it all figured out. Sometimes, and at some point in my life, I was struggling a lot with being busy, just being busy. So if you don't mind sharing your thoughts, you can type them in. What are your thoughts on busy being busy? What does that mean for you or to you? And I am checking the comments. Let me check the comments just to see if somebody chimed in to answer this question. So busy without direction or purpose. Um, Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for joining me. Somebody put in the comment section that you don't know how to sit down or always doing something but not being productive at what you're doing. Somebody also made mention possibly like space filling, like you're filling space without results. And all of those are really, really, really great. Um, that's really great input. And for me, it's one of those things that I, at one point in my life, struggled with a whole lot. So when I talk about being busy, that is exactly what I mean. We are doing things that are filling up space. We're doing things that are just giving us things, but not necessarily any results to those things. Some of us have a very, very difficult time just getting somewhere and being still. We have a hard time at times being able to be intentional about our time, being intentional about the people that we have in our space. So we may be busy, being busy entertaining the wrong things, the wrong people, um, just different things that we basically, in a nutshell, we have to figure out how to not just be busy being busy. Now, if somebody would go ahead and share with me some of the reasons why um, some people might find themselves being busy just to be busy. What are some of the things that you think that they might be um, avoiding or trying to do or figure out? If you want to share, you can definitely share that in the comments if you would like to. I am watching it. So, hello. Thank you guys for joining me on Clubhouse. I appreciate you guys popping in. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Somebody mentioned in the comments trauma. Yes, a lot of people are busy being busy, avoiding traumas because then that means that they actually have to deal with themselves. They have to deal with um, some of the things that they might not want to face. And so we find ourselves being very busy just to be busy because we're avoiding something. We're avoiding um, something that we need to heal from, something that we need to recover from, something that we don't quite want to face. So that's definitely a reason. Does anybody else have any other reasons why they feel like they might that they might be struggling with being busy? Avoiding stuff is a really good reason, though. That's one of the main reasons why. Avoiding loneliness, yes, absolutely. A lot of people do avoid. They find themselves being busy because it takes up space, like somebody mentioned earlier, space fillers. Um, Anybody else have anything else they wanted to add in? Distraction, like when you're constantly, and I just tell myself that the other day because I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and it's signed up for this program, and I was talking to my friends and like, yeah, I'm doing too much. I just need to chill out. But it's easy because when you have so many other things to do, it gives you the opportunity to say, nope, I can back burner this. I don't have to deal with this right now. Right. Or nope, doing this takes me away from having to deal with it. And I think Yes. Absolutely. That is absolutely true. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you said. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, just about being so busy that we don't even have an opportunity to hear from God or to hear what direction He is pulling us in. The first thing that I thought about was there was a particular season of my life where I spent a lot of time doing this, doing that, accomplishing this, accomplishing that, and I had never actually taken the time out to put some things into focus. Like you said, we have our hands in so many different things. And because we have our hands in so many different things, we're busy doing things, but those aren't the things that we're supposed to be doing. Like you said, we're doing things that we have no business doing. We are, what's the word? We are involving ourselves sometimes in things that we shouldn't have even been involved in the first place. um, we are also more than likely not being the best steward over our time, meaning that we're putting all this energy and this effort into things and people and situations, but we're not being intentional about making sure that we are doing what we're called to do, whatever it is that that might be, whatever God might be asking you to do in this hour. But we find other things to do instead of those things that we know that we should be called to do. A lot of people are running from something that they actually need to face. And it's easy to be busy because when you're busy and you're not having to actually deal with those things. You're not having to deal with your feelings, you're not having to deal with any emotions, you're not having to hash out anything with anyone. You're not having to actually sit with yourself and figure out if, hey self, what are some areas that I need to work on? What are some areas that I need to heal from? What are some areas that are getting in the way of whatever my purpose is or my calling is? What are those areas for me? But a lot of us are so busy, we don't even take the time to sit down and do that until we have little fires everywhere, or there are a lot of different things happening around us, and we're feeling beat down and we're feeling defeated and we're feeling like every time I try to do this, it never works out. I go this way, it doesn't work. I go that way, it doesn't work. And oftentimes we need to just do what somebody just mentioned, which is to get someplace and sit down, to quiet down the distractions, to quiet down the noise, and to make sure that in this season we're really stewarding well over our time and that we are doing more along the lines of what we're supposed to be doing versus involving ourselves in so many things that we know we're not supposed to be doing. So I had a question for you guys that I wanted to ask you, and you can just put it in the comment section for me. um The first question is, do you feel like being busy can be a positive thing or a negative thing, or kind of sort of both? Because I have some people that'll say, oh, well, if I'm busy doing this or that. And, that's better than sitting idle and doing nothing. Whereas some people would say, being busy, just being busy, that's just not good. That's not productive. That's a waste of time. That's different things. So if you want, go ahead and chime in the comment section and let me know. Or if you're on Clubhouse and you want to unmute, let me know if you think it can be a positive thing or a negative thing, or both. Mhm. 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 Absolutely. So I understand, and that's a good point that you make. And the reason why some people feel like it can be a positive and a negative. One of the key things you mentioned was, instead of dealing with my stuff. And I think whenever it gets to a point that we are doing certain things to not deal with certain things, and that may be what it becomes a negative. Like you said, if you're sitting around, you're being idle, idle minds. I used to hear the same thing. Idle hands and idle minds is like the devil's playground, and it gives you opportunity to find yourself involved in certain things, or doing certain things that you wouldn't be needing to be doing. So at the end of the day, I think depending on what it is that you have going on, um it can be helpful, but ultimately, if you're doing it because you're avoiding something, you're running for something, then it can affect you negatively in nature, because you're not going to be making the momentum, the progress, or working on those things that could really help propel you into a different space, into a better space, or maybe a healthier space. So then that way you're able to really go forward and maybe be able to help people better in a different light, in a more healed space or something like that. So hopefully that makes sense. But I thank you for popping in and sharing that with me. Somebody put in the comments it could be both positive if productive, and negative if avoiding reality. And that's exactly what I wanted to make sure that I pointed out. Now, what's the difference in between being busy and being productive? Because some people feel like as long as they're doing something, they are extremely productive. So what's the difference? Somebody tell me what's the difference in between that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. It's mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. It's definitely not. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely true. I have some people that are sharing kind of sort of the exact same thing that you are saying in the comments, both um on Clubhouse and on Facebook, because I think a lot of people can identify with the fact that we have had seasons, whether it be now or way back when, where we were just busy being busy. We were just doing things and we weren't yielding anything. And then when you're faced with difficult situations, or the money doesn't look the way that you wanted, or the progress you thought you would have made by now hasn't been made, you have to go back and think, well, what was I doing with my time? Where was I applying my time? Was I doing the things that I know I needed to do to get me to where I wanted to go? Or like you said, was I just sitting there spinning and spinning and spinning and just doing but not producing anything? And that's the main thing that we have to make sure that we're more conscious of. We are too laxed with ourselves, our time, and how we spend it and who we spend it with. We're just very lax with that at times. And I think when we don't have that goal or that vision in mind, or we don't know which direction, or we don't have an idea of which way we're going, we just kind of, I don't want to necessarily say existing, but you're just going through the motion. If the wind blows to the left, you go to the left. If the wind blows to the right, you go to the right. And that's just kind of sort of how you live life. But that's not a productive way to live life. And at the end of the day, what typically ends up happening is you find yourself burnt out, you find yourself tired, you find yourself in this space where you don't have anything left. One of the things that really that I had to come into acceptance was is that by me being busy, I didn't have the mental space and energy to do the things that I had been purposed to do, and the visions of the things that I have set for myself or that God had set for me. So I would be um doing this and doing that, being here and being there, helping this person and helping that person, and I wouldn't be getting done any of the things that I know I would be able to do, because by the time I thought about doing it, by the time I slowed down enough and thought about doing it, I would be too tired to do it, or too burnt out, or don't have the mental space to do it, or I would get distracted with doing something else that would still leave me at the end of the day, like you said, feeling spent, feeling empty, um, feeling burnt out. And so we just have to be mindful of that. If you're going to be busy doing something um that you know that's going to help you get to wherever it is that you're trying to go, or wherever you feel like you should be going. I wanted to ask you guys another question. And that other question is, do you take on more than you should? And if you do, why? If you take on more than you should, then why? Why do you do that? Yeah. I don't know who that was, but they're absolutely right. Yes. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Right. That's right. Mhm. 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 Yeah, been there, done that. Right. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very true. And that's another topic for a different day, as a matter of fact, about enabling people and things of that nature. But I really wanted to, you know, make make you aware. I asked that question because a lot of times we don't even understand why we are doing some of the things that we are doing. um, while we are busy being busy doing some of the things. Some people do that because, like you, they want to save people, they want to help people. Some people, again, are busy because they're trying to avoid something that they don't want to heal from. Some people are doing it because they are people pleasing other, for other reasons, or and whatever those reasons are. When you're busy being busy and you're not being productive in what it is that you're doing, I'm just wanting to bring the awareness for you to think about your reasonings of why you're actually doing that. Like, why are you doing that? Why is that something that you continue to do, even though you know that it's burning you out, even though you are feeling what you're feeling, even though you know that there are things that you need to work on that are far more important? Why is it that you find yourself doing those things? Why is that? So I wanted to point that out just to say, hey, be aware of that. Be more cognizant of the reasons why you're still doing certain things that are not serving you, that are not helping you in this space or in this season. Um, and the other thing that you already talked about, which is another question, was, the drainage of the energy, and making sure that we are not putting ourselves in this place where people are totally reliant and depending on us to do things, to show up, to be that savior, that person that always rescues them. I had to learn the same kind of lesson um some time ago, where I was finding myself kind of sort of being the same way that you were, wanting to be there and support and assist everything and everybody. And I can remember having a conversation that made, like, changed my whole perspective about doing that. And so it was very true for me to make sure that I wasn't enabling people, that I wasn't becoming an idol or savior to people, because somebody said, what if what you're doing is getting in the way of whatever it is that God is trying to do in that person's life? And that, and like, if he's trying to teach them something and you keep coming in, then how is that going to help that individual? And how is that going to help them figure out whatever it is that they need to change or do differently in their life? And so it really made me take a step back. It made me think about, in my busyness, what am I doing? Am I supposed to be helping this particular individual, if we're talking about a person or a situation? And I had to learn very quickly, if he didn't ask me to do it, then I'm not going to do it. And that's just kind of where I'm at now. when it comes to that in particular. Um, so thank you for sharing that as well. I hope you guys are able to hear me on Clubhouse, but then also the people on Facebook are able to hear me speak and you guys on Clubhouse. Hopefully this works out. If not, y'all, I may have to do two separate days. Because I want to make sure that whatever the content is that I have is engaging for everybody and everybody can hear it. So do chime in if you're able to hear the Clubhouse. If you're not able to hear it, just let me know. That'll kind of help me figure out which direction that I should go when it comes to that. So I wanted to ask you guys one final question. Um, and this is just based off of what's actually two questions. Being that we're having this conversation about being busy, I wanted to ask you guys if there's something just based off of this conversation that we're having right now that you know you need to change going forward. I don't want you to come in the same, I don't want you to leave the same way you came in. So if you're comfortable enough, maybe what you share may be able to help somebody else as well. So if you are aware of something that you might need to change just based off of this conversation, please share it with us. What's one thing that you feel like you would need to change or would like to change that can kind of help um, that'll kind of help you do things differently to stop you from being busy. Thank you, Miss Tony. And you can put it in the comment section or you're welcome to chime in. I'll share with you one of the things that I had to do to change it once somebody else chimes in if they do. One of the things that I had to do to learn how to stop being so busy. It's actually two things that I had to learn how to do. And some of y'all, this might register after the fact. So I'll share with you guys two of the things that I had to do. The very first thing that I had to do was I had to get somewhere and sit down. And like someone mentioned earlier, I too was being hard headed. So what I ended up doing was I would go until I got sick. And once I got sick, then um I would have no choice but to sit down. And those of that are closest to me, they know this is exactly how I get sat down. Like if I'm not listening and I'm busy doing 9 million things and I'm not getting somewhere and resting or whatever, I will get sat down. And I usually end up getting sick to a place where I can't even do anything and I have to sit down. So what I had to learn was I had to learn to rest. And that was so hard because for some of us, we're so used to doing everything, wearing many hats. Some of us have certain obligations and responsibilities that may not always allow for us to take that downtime or that time that we know that we should take so that we can be better versions of ourselves. And so when it comes down to just being able to rest, I really had a difficult time with just learning how to do that, to just say, "Hey, I'm not going to do anything today," because I felt like if I wasn't busy being busy or busy being productive, that I I don't know if it wasn't like a purpose type of thing, but I just felt like I was wasting time. And so for me, I had to get sat down. Okay, y'all. That's the first thing. The other thing that I had to learn was I had to learn how to be a lot more intentional with my own personal relationship with the Lord and working through those things so that way I could hear better on what it was that I would need to start doing. I'm not saying that I'm well versed at the asking Lord, what do you want me to do today? I'm a lot better with that than I was before, but I had to be a lot more intentional with my personal relationship because I knew with that he would, guide me, he would lead me, he would tell me what I would need to be doing and how I would need to be doing it, and kind of help me prioritize my time, prioritize my tasks, and different things like that. I had to really learn how to do that in such a way that it created balance for me in order to be able to find rest, to still be able to get the things done that I needed to do, and to not feel a way, like some people said earlier, not feel a way about actually not getting anything done, or not being busy, or not being productive. So somebody shared in the comments, and I'm just going to read those so that everybody else can hear. I know everybody was having issues with hearing on Clubhouse, so I'm going to just share them. Um, Being busy to avoid confronting an issue at first. And I always say that that's a good thing and a bad thing. My reasonings behind that, it depends on the person. Um, so when it comes to being busy to avoid confronting something at first, some of us need a little bit of time to kind of sort of process the situation or the issue at hand. And so I always tell people, depending on where you are within yourself or different things like that, you would want to give yourself the opportunity to process stuff, to chill out, to calm down, to, say, hey, is this going to matter in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or tomorrow or whatever? And then kind of govern yourself accordingly. Respond after you've had a chance to calm down and to process whatever that issue was. And then you respond. So if you have to busy yourself for just a moment, so that way you can just kind of process what happened, there's nothing wrong with that. The issue comes in when you avoid dealing with the issue altogether. So that's when I usually say, that's a red flag. Like, you got to deal with it, because what we don't deal with comes back up. Like somebody mentioned earlier, it never goes away. It's still there. And it's going to, whenever a trigger comes, then that same issue is going to come back up again. So it's always best practices to actually confront that issue, but to just do it from an unangry space and different things like that. So thank you for sharing that. Somebody said that they're going to make sure that they're intentionally being productive rather than being busy. And I think that clarification between being productive and busy is very important, because, like someone else mentioned, you could go your entire day being busy, so busy that you're burnt out, tired by the time you get back. And if you go back and look at what you may have actually had on your list to do that day, or whatever that case may be, you're going to find that you did nothing that was on your list. You're still in the same spot that you were possibly last week. And that's not going to help you internally feel better or good about the position that you're finding yourself in at this present time, especially if you feel like, or coming to the realization that you have wasted time, which a lot of us don't like to waste time. But we say we don't like our time wasted, but we are the biggest wasters of our own time, if that makes sense. Um, let's see. Somebody else said one thing that they had to learn from stop being so busy is saying no to the extra stuff, and also to do one thing a day. So I appreciate that share, because a lot of us have a really difficult time with saying no. We don't want to disappoint anybody. We want to help everybody. We want to be there for everyone. But we're not always able to do that. And so we have to get to this place where we're brave enough and bold enough and confident enough to remain on saying no. And no is a complete sentence that does not require any kind of explanation after the no. And then also to know yourself. One of the things that I started doing was I started listing out. I used to create a to-do list, and my to-do list would be long, y'all. My to-do list would be so long at one point in time that I would look at the list and get stressed out about the list of things that I had to do. And then at that point, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this stuff done. Damn, I don't want to do any of it because it's all piling up, and all of it seems to be important. I wasn't prioritizing it, and I mentioned that before. And then somebody said, "Well, why don't you just put down 3 to 5 things on that list or 5 things from that list, the most important, prioritize them. And if you get 2 of those things done, or 3 of those things done, or heck, even 1 of those things done, then you've had some kind of productivity towards your day, towards whatever that thing was that you wanted to do, because you actually checked something off on your list, which made me productive versus not productive, not being just busy, just being busy. So, yes, the one thing on your list, or if you're a person that can handle multiple things on your list, by all means, add those. But I know for me, if I see too much stuff on the list, I get stressed out because I see too much on the list that I need to handle and need to take care of. But I'm also very self-aware of that. So I try not to put that at the forefront of my mind. I try to break that list down, prioritize it, and make it as intentional as possible so that I don't find myself spinning all day long. Um, I also wanted to say, I had it written down. Give me 1 second. Let's see where I put it. Um, oh no, I asked that already. Okay, so everybody has chimed in. Does anybody else have any more comments about one thing that you're going to try to do differently? Um, that you're going to do differently. I didn't see anything else. Somebody else said that they struggle with the same thing, as far as making sure that they're not doing too much and that they're telling people no when they can't do something. All right. Um, so before I close out, I just wanted to say, for the most part, the reason why this topic is very near and dear to me, again, it's like I said, it was something that I struggled with for a really long time. And whether I was busy being busy or I was busy being productive, um, I wasn't resting. I wasn't being intentional about making sure that those things that I was doing was helping me to become a better version of myself. So, for those of you that are aware of it or may not have been aware of it, I published my first book this year called Mask Off. And with this book, there's a whole chapter in here that talks about, and I know you might not be able to see it too well, but there's a whole chapter in here that talks about busy being busy. And what I ended up sharing with you guys was some of the tips and tools, not all of them, but just some of the things that I actually had to do in order for me to just get to this space where I just learned how to sit, I learned how to listen, and I learned how to be far more intentional with my time, with my my brain power, because I only got enough brain power to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And so, if you guys were interested in getting the book, I have copies available on hand. I also have it available on Amazon, so you're more than welcome to purchase it on Amazon. And I also have my affirmation cards. And one of the things that one of the cards that I wanted to share with you guys with closing was one that I felt like kind of tied into Are You Busy Being Busy? Because we talked about a lot of different things when it came to just some of the reasons why we find ourselves just being busy and different things like that. Um, Let me see if I can change this right quick because I want you guys to be able to see for those of you that are on Facebook viewing. So the book is this is what the book looks like. It's Mask Off. And this book in itself, it talks about some of the masks that we wear that keep us from showing up the way that we want to. On the cover, you will see that there's different things where it talks about rejection and fear and anxiety. And we hide behind these masks. And because we hide behind these masks, what ends up happening is we hide ourselves. Um, we don't step into our purpose. We let the thoughts and opinions of other people, we let culture and society kind of sort of run our lives and put us in this position to where we ultimately to a certain extent, we do self-care where we talk about, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to get all these things done. And I kind of birthed this from the pandemic, where there were a lot of people that were doing these external things, but internally they weren't doing the work that they needed to do to be able to help them truly embrace self-care collectively. Because my idea behind it in the book was, what happens when you go home and you return back to the things that required you to have that self-care in the first place, whether that's your home life, whether that's your work life, whether that's your social life for some people. And so this book talks about in greater detail ways that you are able to not only practice self-care from the outside, doing those things that you love to do, whether that's, you know, exercising or, going on vacations and different things like that. That's great, but what happens when you come back and you still have issues that you don't want to work through? One of the things that we do is we begin to be busy being busy. So I'm going to share with you guys the card that I chose from my affirmation cards, my Speak Life into Yourself affirmation cards. You can see them here. These little cards that I created, and they have um, something like a focus that I would like you to pay attention to. There's also a scripture that is on it, and then there are questions that I have. I'm not going to ask all of the questions due to time, but it's just something that I wanted you guys to think about. So this one, it says, do what God told you to do and move on. Um, a lot of times we're busy being busy because if we're honest, some of the things that we have been called to do, some of the things that we have been asked to do are not things that we're comfortable with doing. They scare us. They may, have us have to come out of the shadows or different things like that. And so a lot of us are like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be over here in my space in the background doing what I like to do, and that's it. So the scripture that I chose for this is Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths, which is the main thing that we've been talking about. If we get to a place where we sit down and we hear, we minimize the distractions, we're intentional about our time and our relationship with God, then we can just trust him with whatever it is that he's asking us to do and know that he's going to guide our path. He's going to light the path for us to go. So that way we can walk into our destiny or our purpose or be intentional or productive with our time, our energy, our space, our stewardship over our money, over our children, over our families, our businesses, or whatever those things that he's entrusted us with. That's what will allow us to be able to do that. So I want to leave you with this question here because I know we're talking about busy being busy, but I really want you to think about, what has God asked you to do that you still have not done yet? In all of your busyness and all of the things that you have done or doing every day, things that you have planned next month, next year, what has God asked you to do that you have not yet done? And then I want to challenge you to do that one thing. So what is that one thing? And if you know it and you're comfortable enough and you want to share it, you can definitely share it. If not, at least I want to jog your memory to have you think about it because it's really important. Somebody said something, I want to say it was either this week or last week, where they said that we don't do certain things because we think that we have time. So we are dragging our feet with the things that God has asked us to do and things like that because we think that we really have time. But in this hour, we really don't have the time. And if He's asking you to do something, it's because it's extremely important for this hour that He is calling us to. So I want to challenge you to think about those things that God has already asked you to do that you haven't done. And I would challenge you to do one of those things. Okay. So again, I wanted to say thank you guys for joining me this evening on the Mental Wellness Sanctuary. Um, My next topic for next week is going to be, let me make sure I give y'all, I got all my topics, so let me just make sure that I give you guys the one that I have coming up. So that way you guys can make it a point to make sure you hang out with me because I enjoyed you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Um, so the next one that we'll be talking about next week, your habits today, are they helping you or are they hindering you? So that's what we'll be covering on next week. Again, if you guys felt like somebody could use this once this comes up, please share it with somebody else. Um, because I think it's important. I think it's important for people to really start acknowledging what they're doing, how they're using their time, if they're being productive, and if they're doing the things that they know they should be called to do in this hour. Because it's really, 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 really important that we do that. So, again, anybody have any questions for me? Or any comments that you would like to leave? I don't want to leave anybody with any questions. I don't want to leave you guys with any um, comments or anything like that. So if you did, please let me know. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys being here. So I'll allow a moment or two for anybody that may have anything that they would like to share or say. Um, my goal, my prayer through this mental wellness sanctuary is to bring awareness to ourselves about the things that ourselves need to do better. um, it can't always be other things and it can't always be other people. We have to turn a lens on ourselves and we have to look at the things that we're doing, the things that we are not doing, and then make those changes based off of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that we can control is ourselves. So, again, thank you guys for joining me. I will see you guys here next week on Wednesday at the Mental Wellness Sanctuary. So y'all have a great night, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you so, 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 so much.